Hello guys, Sue Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 902. This is our second out of the 100th countdown between the countdown to 1,000 episode celebration special. And today, react to Spider-Man 3 OddGamer episode number 43. Reactions beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. OddGamer presents Spider-Man month. Okay. Makes sense in any way. Ow. Spider-Man 3. Makes sense in any way. Okay.
Hello, Internet viewers. I'm your friendly neighborhood, Fairly Odd Gamer. Before I begin, I want to apologize for taking so long with the review you're about to see. Trust me, if you have ever reviewed a game this long, you'll probably understand what I had to deal with. But anyway, on with the review. With Spider-Man month coming to a close, and seeing that I'm only focusing on the Raimi trilogy, I figured it's only proper to talk about the movie that ended that very trilogy. If you haven't guessed yet, I'm talking about Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, close up. Anyway.
Considered by many as the black sheep of the Raimi trilogy, I can only imagine what that would look like.
Yeah, black sheep. So what is that?
With highly mixed reviews.
Hang on.
I can only imagine what that would look like.
Spider-Man, black sheep. Continue on.
Spider-Man 3 was released in 2007 with highly mixed reviews.
Wow.
And it's strange because pretty much everyone was hyped for that movie, seeing how successful the last movie was, and rightfully so. What's also strange is that until the release of Spider-Man Far From Home 12 years later, this was the highest grossing Spider-Man movie of all time with almost $900 million at the box office. I too was hyped for the third Spider-Man movie, and it was alright. It wasn't as good as the second movie, but at least there were some enjoyable moments. I didn't really like the addition of New Goblin, but Sandman was pretty cool. Plus, it was awesome getting to see Venom on the big screen. Honestly, I prefer this version of Venom over the spin-off version with Tom Hardy. I never saw it, but I heard it wasn't really good. And surprisingly, there's going to be a sequel of said Venom movie with Woody Harrelson as Carnage. Hope you look forward to seeing that.
And much to my surprise, it managed to get another tie-in game. So let's finish out the month with Spider-Man 3 for the Xbox 360.
Okay.
Is it as good as the other Spider-Man games, as well as the movie it was based on? Let's find out.
Like the previous games, it was published by Activision and developed by Treyarch. If you can believe this, both the movie and the game were released on the same day, May the 4th, 2007. May the Force be with you, Spider-Man.
Wow!
Usually the tie-in game will be released earlier or even later than the movie's release date. But this is a rare occurrence where both the movie and the tie-in game will be released at the same time.
Wow.
Not for a coincidence. Anyway, let's start the game. As a building named Carlisle Industry explodes, we see Spider-Man swing into the building.
Spider-Man!
Wow.
No autographs, please. Press the attack button to attack.
Yep, both Tobey Maguire and Bruce Campbell return as the web slinger and the narrator. And seeing this is based on the last movie from the Raimi trilogy, this is also the last game where both actors reprised their roles.
Wow.
And speaking of which, let's talk about the voice acting. Like the previous games, most of the actors from the movie reprised the roles for the game, including Thomas Hayden Church as Flint Marko, aka Sandman, Topher Grace as Eddie Brock, as well as Venom, and after 2 games, we finally get Harry Osborn voiced by his movie actor James Franco. While Josh Keaton did a great job voicing Harry, especially in Spider-Man 2, Franco does an incredible job in this game in the same way as the movie.
Wow.
Anyway, this level is pretty much the tutorial level in which you learn the basic controls of the game.
Makes sense.
In the previous games, you have a quick attack, like punching, a heavy attack, like kicking, and combos both physical and web involvement. And of course, you can jump as well as double jump and hold the jump button to jump higher, like the previous game.
Hold it down long enough, and you can probably leap small buildings in a single bound.
Obvious not to Superman is obvious. Also, see that red circle in the top left corner of your screen? That's your super attack meter. By beating up enough enemies, you'll be able to fill up your attack meter. Once it fills up to maximum, press RB as well as one of the main buttons simultaneously, and you'll be able to perform a super attack. It's not necessarily a screen nuke, but it'll take out a crowd of enemies. While this game also brings back the spider reflex mechanic, there are some brand new gameplay elements for this game. For starters, you can actually dodge your attacks and even counterattack while in the spider reflex phase. You can also use spider sense to track any incoming danger, which is actually very useful in case you're stuck. You know what other new mechanics in this game? Quick time events in which you have to press the right button as fast as humanly possible. Anyway, you defeat these so-called H-bombers and save a woman from getting killed.
Thanks for flying there, Spidey.
And we never see her again, even though we have absolutely no idea who she is. The next day comes as we get another narration from Spider-Man himself. So things have changed a lot since the last game. He has a new rival photographer named Eddie Brock. Harry Osborn doesn't talk to him anymore, and new gangs appeared, including one with anime girls. Plus, we see Flint Marko turning into Sandman, and a meteor crashes into the street, releasing a black symbiote, or whatever that thing is.
And what will Flint Marko be like, you may ask? Well, in the words of Anakin Skywalker,
It's coarse, rough, and irritating.
and it gets everywhere. Literally.
The overall gameplay is pretty much the same as the last game, which includes being able to walk on New York grounds and requiring a building to web swing from.
That's right. You can't just swing from empty space. You're not that good yet.
Then how can we do that in the first Spider-Man game? I don't know if I mentioned it in either one of the reviews, but yeah, you can web swing from thin air in the first game. It wasn't until the second game in which you need a building to attach your web swing. You can manipulate your web swing direction with the left analog stick and swing faster or higher with the boost button depending on when you boost. Like the previous games, you also have destination markers and a map. Unlike the previous game, you can actually choose a mission on the map rather than trying to find a certain location and have you constantly look at your map. Each mission has its storyline that's different from one another. It's best to point out that some missions given to you can disappear from the map and reappear later on. Don't be surprised if you can't perform a quest change right out the bat. Other than that, it's pretty much Spider-Man 2 all over again. Also, this game is open-ended, unlike the previous game, where each level is divided into chapters.
Makes
Because of
sense.
this, I'll try my best to talk about the missions that are either story-based or ones that I personally remember the most. Spider-Man takes Mary Jane for a thrill ride as he web swings around Central Park. In these missions, you have to web swing near the ground, above the sky, or faster depending on her desire. You're given hearts based on how well you follow her commands. The more often you do so, the more hearts you get. You can even gain more hearts by picking up these large heart icons scattered around the streets. In addition, they add to your die based on how high or low you need to web swing. There are also times where gang members are en route in your areas, but you won't be able to gain hearts anytime they're around. So don't even try to fight them because you also have a time limit for each destination. Anyway, they make it to Central Park as they both talk about Harry, who's still convinced that Peter killed his dad.
But he's your best friend, Peter. Deep down, he has to know you'd never do anything to hurt him.
In case you're wondering, that's Corey Walker doing the voice of Mary Jane, unlike the previous game, where she's voiced by her movie actress, Kirsten Dunst. Walker isn't a bad choice. I think she's trying too hard to sound like Dunst. I think it'd be nice to have her do her own version, while at the same time capture Dunst's portrayal in the films. But anyway, Mary Jane tries to comfort Peter, only to have the symbiote attached to Peter's shoe. Meanwhile, Harry exits the chamber in the Green Goblin lair with the super soldier serum. You know, from the first movie. If you manage to complete a mission, then you'll earn new upgrades, usually consisting of new moves. At the science lab, Dr. Connors tests his serum so he could grow his arm back, only to have himself turn into a lizard. Meanwhile, in the Daily Bugle, Jameson gets a phone call about giant lizards in Gramercy Park. It's where we're introduced to photography minigames in which you, get this, take photos. He finally finds a lizard, or a cell phone sales guy, who so happens to wear a lizard mask. So he takes the photo and heads back to the Daily Bugle.
I said get me giant lizards and I meant it, Parker. You think I don't know the difference between some guy in a costume and the real deal? Get me giant lizards or you're fired.
And yes, that's J.K. Simmons voicing Jonah in this game. Clearly the best performance in the entire game. Give him the Game Award for best performance in a video game. Anyway, at Gramercy Park, Spider-Man has to take photos of the giant lizard without having to scare it. The best way to track it down is to use your spider sense. After taking the photos, Spider-Man sends it back to the Daily Bugle, therefore ending the mission. Speaking of which, there are also missions that involve taking photos for the Daily Bugle that Robbie assigns to you, whether it's City Life, a beauty contest, or even power suits from choppers. Sometimes you have to reach a certain score for your photos based on how many people and or items are in the photos. And sometimes you have to fight off bad guys just to complete the mission. After everything on your to-do list is done, send the photos back to Robbie.
Makes sense.
Peter heads to the science lab where he's shocked to see Dr. Connors now transformed into a lizard, and apparently spawn a number of smaller lizards into the sewers, which Spider-Man defeats. Eventually, he finds Lizard, only to escape as Spider-Man has to deploy a drill, which he does via the Joestar secret technique.
Wow.
After you stand on a set of grinding platforms and wait for the lizard to attack you, in which you have to dodge, grab it in midair, and hold him on the platform. Mash the button quick enough, and the lizard will bash his head into the grinder drill. Do that 2 more times, and perform the final combo to launch the lizard into the arena to finish him off.
Yes.
Let me point out right now that the boss battle against the lizard is pretty difficult, because not only can he move quickly, but he also hits pretty hard. So
Wow.
it's best to use your heavy attacks while dodging at the same time.
Uh-huh.
That's not all. Later in the battle, his eyes will bug out into a supercharge. It doesn't change anything in regards to the overall battle, so same attacks apply here.
Exactly.
One quick time event later, and the lizard is defeated via sewer water.
Wow.
At the Daily Bugle, Jameson gets a phone call from Carlisle that he plans to blow up the city with bombs. That's what Spider-Man does next, as he heads to Grand Central Station, Ninja Goons not included, and into the subway tunnels where he beats up more bombers and webs up the bombs, preventing any detonation.
Wow.
He then finds a large bomb, which leads to a minigame of disarming the bomb with button commands and solving puzzles along the way. Not the first time Spider-Man disarmed any bombs. He then disarms 2 more bombs, as well as stopping a runaway train via QuickTime events. There are also missions that involve these new games that pretty much involve beating up the bad guys while also saving citizens at the same time, and eventually have a boss battle against the leader of each game.
Uh-huh.
Out of the 3, the one game I remember the most about is the Arsenic Candy.
Or as I call it, Attack of the Hentai.
The Arsenic Candy is a group of anime girls dressed as maids with umbrellas and hammers as they terrorize the Upper East Side.
But I hear red is the new black.
Foreshadowing much? Also, you're one color away from a Netflix series.
Wow.
Anyway, these missions involve saving hostages at an abandoned theater from a falling chandelier, similar to another show in New York, rescuing citizens from a burning building before it collapses, saving a librarian being dropped from a clock tower while protecting the Natural History Museum, and protecting the groom from the evil clutches of the candy's boss, Priscilla. And that's about it from what I can tell.
Makes sense.
As I mentioned before, you don't necessarily have to do every single quest mission at once. The quests that involve the Apocalypse and Dragon Tail games have you beat up bad guys while saving citizens, and that's it.
You just mentioned Dragon Tales. Well, okay. Makes sense. Continue on.
Well, I said it earlier about having to
Beat up bad guys while saving citizens, and that's it.
Remember what I said it earlier about having the missions disappear at some point? This is why.
After trying to figure out what happened to Dr. Connors, Peter gets attacked by Harry, now as the Green Goblin. It's a 3-0 boss fight that begins with a long QuickTime event, whether for dodging or attacking. While it's not that difficult, it can get pretty long. After hitting him a few times, you get knocked off Harry's glider as you attack him on the ground while Harry glides around you. A few heavy attacks plus dodging later, and you have another QuickTime event in which Harry gets knocked off his own glider, and Peter Webb swings Harry to the hospital. In the movie, Harry suffers from a case of immediate amnesia. Oh, and remember what I said in my Spider-Man 1 review about Scorpion not appearing in future games from the Raimi trilogy?
Wow.
Well, it turns out Scorpion has returned for this game. It
Wow.
turns out that a scientist named Dr. Stillwell, not to be confused with Farley Stillwell from the comics, has a job for Scorpion, Mac Gargan, who just wants to be normal again and free from her grasp. Not wanting her to resort to using mind control, Gargan causes Big Reeves. So Scorpion stops the police van, only to find Rhino as he escapes the said police van. But another van takes Scorpion along with Jessica Andrews, scientist and Scorpion's love interest, to a place called Mechabiocon. At least that's what the truck says. Spider senses begin to tingle as he finds more H-bombers setting up more bombs around the city, which Spider-Man disarms. But there are some bombs that won't disarm at all. So what does he do? He kicks them into the ocean, of course. The bombers fly via jetpack, which Spider-Man has to defeat while also trying to defuse more bombs at the same time. After that, you find a police officer named DeWolf, as she too is trying to get a lead on who this mad bomber is. She gets a police call telling all units to report to the George Washington Bridge, and that's where Spider-Man heads to next while under a time limit. Actually, before we move on, let's talk about the missions that involve DeWolf. You have to tell these so-called dirty cops to a certain location without getting too close. Once you arrive, you take the photos, apprehend the bad guys by beating them up, and return to the Wolf for your reward.
Hey, if that crime-fighting thing doesn't work out, you could always get a job taking pictures for the Bugle.
Wow. Oh.
You serious?
At the George Washington Bridge, you defeat more bombers and defuse the bomb, only to have another bomb go off at a factory. all you have to do is set the pressure valves to green, destroy a chemical tank, and chase after Carlisle, aka the Mad Bomber, as you escape the factory via a QuickTime event. But the bombers strike again, this time with a Daily Bugle. It's basically a QuickTime event in which you dodge and or attack the bombers while trying to defuse bombs at the same time. But, Carlisle takes Jameson hostage via helicopter, and you have to follow it as close as possible. Oh, and save Jameson while you're at it. At the rooftop, Carlisle will shoot rockets at you, which you can deflect via weapon, and try to avoid his mini rockets as well as his gunfire from the chopper. Eventually, Spider-Man takes down the chopper, but Carlisle escapes. However, Spider-Man removes Jonah's collar, therefore saving his life.
Wow.
We move on to the next villain in the lineup, Scorpion. It's here where you're introduced to using your slingshot, in which you launch yourself from one area to another via web slingshot. Oh, and more Superman references.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
It makes the Mecha Biocon where they not only develop cybernetics, but it also makes Scorpion their weapon.
Yeah.
There's a section where you're supposed to hide in the shadows, but the developers forgot about it. So you drop down and let everyone spot you. As Spider-Man makes his way through the corridor, he overhears the conversation between Stillwell and Andrews.
Mr. Goggins, a schizophrenic doctor. You can't trust anything he says.
You put Mac's life at risk.
Dr. Andrews, you're getting too emotionally involved with this experiment. I'm taking you off the Scorpion project.
But you can't do that.
Yes, I can.
That was so evil.
On this company. Question my authority again, and I will bury you.
Jesus!
Spider-Man destroys the soldiers as well as some guards as he makes his way to an energy-filled room.
Actually, this kind of reminds me of my last fight with Electro, except I think these things are smarter.
I don't remember Spider-Man ever fighting Electro in any of the Raimi games.
Ooh,
maybe that's how they got the idea for the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Wow.
Anyway, you have to destroy 4 power generators and rev up the power fans. It's here where he first encounters Dr. Andrews as she tells him about Scorpion and how she was involved with the Scorpion project.
I was assigned Mac as a test subject when I first started here. The Scorpion project seems to have caused some kind of psychotic break in him.
Scorpion project?
I was told it was developing cybernetic enhancements for the military, but I think Stillwell created the program for other reasons.
Like springing Rhino from his tin can.
We've got to get Mac out of here before he's hurt. But I don't know where Stillwell's hiding him.
Dr. Andrews tells Spider-Man where to find Stillwell's office, and that's where he heads to next. Destroy the crazy robot arms and escape the facility while avoiding any lockdowns. Otherwise, you'll lose the mission. Spider-Man makes his way to another facility, and it's here where he finds Scorpion. Getting there isn't that easy. Not only is the security beefed up, but there's also trip lasers to avoid. There's also a Scorpion attack minigame in which you control Scorpion and beat up 5 waves of bad guys.
Wow.
A quick time event later, and Spider-Man frees Scorpion, only to have him eventually fight the web slinger via mind control. Scorpion then knocks you off by a nearby window as you chase him down to the bridge where the mind control device is. This may be one of the most annoying boss fights I've ever endured. For starters, you have to avoid Scorpion's attacks and beat him down until he's low on health.
Okay.
And here's where the annoying part begins. By grabbing onto Scorpion's tail, you need to aim and destroy 3 generators on each side of the bridge while trying to get an accurate shot at each device. You have to be quick because eventually he'll break loose. See why I don't like this boss fight? Eventually you destroy all the generators as you endure one more QuickTime event to destroy the mind control device and free Scorpion at last. However, Scorpion still has a score to settle with Mecha Biocon.
Hold on. They'll be waiting for you. We need to hit them when they least expect it.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. I have a hideout, an old bomb shelter downtown. I'll wait for you there, but don't take too long. I can be very impatient.
Hang on, pause.
Hey, I gotta go to the pharmacy to pick up some medicine. I'll be back in a little bit, I guess. I hope.
Yeah, I hope.
I gotta check, make sure they got yours ready.
You want my lunch?
No, not your lunch, your medicine.
Medicine, okay.
Medicine there too. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Continue on, folks. Sorry about that.
I can see that.
Wow.
I'll be there soon.
Wow.
On to the next villain, Sandman. Spider-Man makes his way to his apartment as the black symbiote approaches Peter and consumes him, resulting in him having a new black suit, which makes him faster, stronger, and more agile than ever before. He then finds Flint Marko, or Sandman, who has just robbed a bank and is headed into the subway tunnels. Once again, it leads to a pretty lengthy boss battle against Sandman.
Wow.
Before we move on, let's talk about Black Spider-Man. While his movesets and attacks are about the same as the regular suit, there's only one major difference. Instead of a super attack, the black suit has a raise modifier. Once your meter fills up, he'll be filled with raise, making his attacks faster and stronger.
Jesus.
When it comes to combat, I personally think that Black Suit Spider-Man is better because he can dish out more pain than regular Spider-Man. Now for Sandman, his attacks mostly involve, what else? Sand. Which includes a sand blast that he'll fling at you. If at any point you get hit, he'll run off and escape the field, therefore failing the mission immediately. Luckily, you can attack as you normally do and use the subway trains to your advantage via button mashing. In addition, you have to transition to a lower set of tracks via button mash or QuickTime events. Oh, and during the boss fight, Spider-Man will spew out some beach-related puns.
Some kind of volleyball accident? Give me a break. Like I'm gonna take crap from walking the beach.
Hey dude, did somebody mention the beach?
Oh, hey, Alex, what's up?
Nothing much. How's Spider-Man month coming along?
It's going pretty well. I'm about to defeat Sandman right now.
That's awesome, gamer. Oh, can I watch?
Sure, go right ahead.
Excellent, dude.
So after 3 levels of tracks and another button match QuickTime event, you finally defeat Sandman by a rampaging waterfall.
So does Spider-Man just murder Sandman?
Probably not. I'll be back later.
Oh, that's good to know. Anyway, I just want to see what's up. Later, dude!
At the Daily Bugle, Peter meets up with rival photographer Eddie Brock as he tries to frame Spider-Man as a criminal, basically trying to suck up to the boss. So what does Brock do? Cheat his way by hiring an imposter to pose as Spider-Man, but the real Spider-Man shows up again in the black suit as he punches Brock and breaks the camera.
Wow.
Lock twist! Brock had more cameras, getting a better shot of what just happened. And to prevent it from happening, Spider-Man takes away 9 more cameras from Brock while under a time limit. Personally, it's best to use your Spider Sense in case you don't know where the cameras are.
Okay.
So after taking all the cameras, Brock plans to seek revenge on Spider-Man. I can only assume that Brock got fired for the fake photo. I mean, that's what I recall from the movie. Also, another reason why quest chains aren't necessary is because some of the continuing quests require the black Spidey suit.
Yes.
This includes the last few Arsenic Candy and Dragon Tail missions. So let's move on to the final Lizard mission. Spider-Man returns to the sewers as he finds out that the lizards are being hunted by...
Well, again, Dragon Tail references earlier. Continue on.
Kraven, who makes a return from the first game. After another QuickTime event, Spider-Man arrives at a train station in which he has to push both trains to the other side of his tracks, as well as killing more lizards.
Wow.
It's also the mission where you use the web yo-yo from the first game, and it's actually more useful here. By using your web yo-yo, drop down to the control panel and flip the switches to open doors to progress through the sewers. Eventually he finds Kraven, resulting in a pretty difficult boss battle. Why? Because like the previous game, Kraven has potions that make him stronger. But unlike the previous games where he's granted invincibility for a short period of time, he transforms into his animal size. So, Kraven the Furry? If you somehow die, then you have to start the fight all over again. But if you manage to knock him down to near death, a QuickTime event ensues, but gives him time to escape. Eventually, Spider-Man finds Kraven again as you once again fight him via boss fight. Now, this is much more difficult than the first one because not only does Kraven have his potions again, but Kraven can also turn invisible. Thankfully, you can spot him with your Spider Sense. But it won't be easy because you also have lizards that can spawn and attack you. So it's best to use the lizards to fill up your rage meter and use the rage meter single attacks on Kraven. One quick time event later, and the lizard is now captured by this girl named Calypso as she transforms him into a monstrous version with a shield around him. Might be a new superpower of his. Let's be real here. I don't like this boss battle against this supersized lizard. You can't attack him physically, so you have to find a way to destroy the shield first. How, you may ask? You have to destroy these generators by throwing the lizard into these generators the same way Mario does the Bowser in Super Mario 64.
Uh-huh.
So long, get Bowser!
Wow.
The lizard will constantly attack you as well as acid spit, which he can shoot across the room, and a giant roar that can knock you around. So what do? You have to web him up to subdue him, and then you swing him at the generators.
Wow.
But here's the catch. You have to be within a certain radius, and you have to be close enough to one of the generators. However, if you're too close to a wall or a generator, then you won't be able to swing around the lizard at all. See why I don't like this boss fight? Defeating the 4 shield generators causes the shield to go bye-bye, and finally you'll be able to take the lizard head-on. But the lizard can cling onto walls and pounce to the center of the room, which he avoids by slowing down and once again perfecting the Judge Star's secret technique.
Makes sense.
It's also best to use a rage if you manage to fill it up. This also leads to probably one of the most difficult QuickTime events I've ever done, involving both the left analog stick as well as the main buttons. Just activate your web slingshot as the lizard bashes into the window, putting an end to the lizard.
Wow. Wow.
You'll be okay, Doc. I'll get you to the hospital. I'm sorry, Doc. The nightmare's over. What's happening to me?
It was at this moment that Spider-Man knew he's a jerk-off. Yep, not only does the black suit affect his physical abilities, but it also affects his mental and social behavior around other people. So on to the next villain, Kingpin. And this is when Peter starts acting like a jerk. It actually would have been nice to have emo Peter in the game, but instead we get the regular Peter design but with a different attitude. Anyway, Jameson informs Peter to be at the courthouse where the police chief is holding a press conference.
Get your feet off my desk!
What's the magic word?
Now!
I was thinking please, but whatever.
And learn some manners while you're at it!
Unfortunately, the news conference has just started upon Peter's arrival, so the only way to get the photo of all the gang leaders is from the balcony, which he does. Yeah, remember those gang missions that I had to complete early on? No? Well, apparently they've been hired by one person. Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin.
Wow.
And a clear shot of Kingpin on the phone, they have some gang members and evacuate the courthouse.
Okay.
It turns out that Fisk freed all the gang members and therefore made Spider-Man lose control. As a result, he decides to give Kingpin a piece of his mind. Right after he sends the photos to the Bugle, of course.
Hey, Robbie, where's Wilson Fisk live? He was at the courthouse today, and I'm sure he was involved.
I'll show you where he lives, Pete, but I gotta warn you, Fisk is a dangerous guy. Don't go getting mixed up in...
Yeah, thanks for the info.
Wow.
I'll come by later for that check, and, make sure it's ready.
So Spider-Man makes his way to Fisk's penthouse, where he's greeted by more gang members. Not only do you have gang members in the main hall, but it's somehow accompanied with original classical music. Could it be the inspiration for that Stan Lee cameo in The Amazing Spider-Man, which has to be the best Stan Lee cameo of all time?
Wow.
Or maybe it's just another coincidence. Once that's done and over with, you then get a boss battle against Kingpin himself, who packs up quite a wallop. Just dodge an attack with your heavy attacks, and repeat. The Kingpin throws Spider-Man around, pretty much destroying the place with his own bare strength alone. And it leads to a 1 versus 3 boss fight against all 3 gang leaders. They're pretty easy to defeat, especially with rage mode on your side. Eventually you break and enter Kingpin's office via slingshot, as it leads to another boss battle against Fisk, which is pretty much the same thing as the last time you fought him. So really nothing much to talk about. One quick time event later, and Spider-Man throws him off the building through the window, presumably leaving him dead.
Wow.
What did I do? I didn't mean to throw him that hard. No sign of him. Could he have survived that fall? Well, I'm done here either way.
This leads to the next mission, Mary Jane's Scare Ride. Peter once again acts like a jerk, but this time in front of her girlfriend, Mary Jane. Because of this, Mary Jane tells Peter to take her home immediately, and that's what he grudgingly does. It's pretty much the same as the thrill ride missions, only now they argue and complain about everything.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Whatever.
You're heading the wrong way!
What's wrong? Can't you handle this?
This isn't funny, Peter! Stop it!
I need a girl who can keep up with me.
I didn't want to go this way.
Are you going to complain about every little thing?
She's still gonna break up with you.
Wow. So that was how you call it.
As he now figures out that he's under the influence of the black suit, which needs to be gone. He goes to a church in a bell tower trying to get the suit off. And if you've seen the movie, you probably know what happens next. Spider-Man finds the symbiote's weakness being close-range sound waves and successfully releases the symbiote's bond to him. But because of curiosity, Brock enters the church and asks for one thing.
I want you to kill Peter Parker.
Yeah, that. But he finds Peter unmasked as the symbiote now bonds with Eddie, transforming him into Venom. Wow! Being bland, the game still manages to brilliantly replicate some scenes from the movie. While they are condensed, it does give you an idea of where you are in comparison to the movie. As a result, we return to a regular Spider-Man with his normal moveset and everything. I'm gonna miss the black suit mainly for the rage mode alone.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the final Scorpion mission, Mecha Biocon Exposed. Scorpion managed to take off his armor, except for his tail apparently. He wants to kill Stillwell for her actions, only to be stopped by Spider-Man. He then follows Scorpion to Mecha Biocon, but they find Rhino taking away Dr. Andrews, which gives Scorpion the determination to save her. Oh, and Scorpion is also prone to energized barriers. However, there's one section of this level that I personally do not like. It's here where you jump up into a shaft and crawl up these lasers that will make you lose your grip if you touch any one of them.
Yeah.
And what's even worse? It's the fact that Spider-Man cannot move in small increments, which makes it even more difficult. And because there's nowhere else to go, it just makes the level even more painful than it needs to be. Anyway, Scorpion finds Dr. Stillwell as he holds Dr. Andrews hostage and at gunpoint. Stillwell tells Scorpion to kill Spider-Man for Dr. Andrews' life, which he refuses. As a result, Stillwell terminates the Scorpion project and calls upon Rhino to kill both Spider-Man and Scorpion. Eventually, Spider-Man finds Scorpion in a brawl against Rhino as he joins the party. Since you have Scorpion on your side, defeating Rhino will be just like a walk in the park, right? Well, no. Rhino has a blue glowing shield preventing Spider-Man from attacking from the front. This includes a loud roar, ramming into girders, and charging at you like a bull.
Exactly.
The only way to defeat Rhino is to either attack him from the back or use the girder to your advantage by webbing it and ramming it into Rhino's face.
Exactly.
Lather rinse repeatedly until Rhino is low on health, which leads to another complicated QuickTime event defeating Rhino once and for all. Scorpion tries to kill Stillwell, knowing that he'll never return to normality.
Stop, Gargan. She's not worth it. Let the police deal with her.
Go to hell!
So much for this being a family channel.
Okay, he does let her go as he leaves the premises. Thankfully, Stillwell is alive as Dr. Andrews tells Spider-Man to leave, hoping that it never happens again. Meanwhile, in Central Park, Brock finds Sandman, who somehow survived the waterfall in the sewers, as he tries to convince Sandman to help kill Spider-Man. Sandman refuses, but Brock doesn't get away that easily as he transforms into Venom.
Let's watch it.
Wow.
There's children present.
You know, I will give it this. Venom is actually better in the game than in the movie. Not because of the distorted voice, but it's also because we get to see more of Venom unlike the movie. So Venom kidnaps Sandman's daughter, Penny, which then convinces Sandman to join forces with Venom. Now, before I move on to the final mission, there's still two missions that involve Dr. Connors. Spider-Man has to find 3 serums in which Connors can make an antidote that can permanently reverse the lizard transformation. And that's exactly what Spider-Man does. After he saves a citizen and follows a lizard leading into these said serums. Eventually, Connors creates the antidote as he tells Spider-Man to dispense the antidote into 3 gas dispensers that can be spread to the remaining lizards in the sewers. But here's the catch. Every time Spider-Man plants an antidote, the lizards will try to destroy the gas dispenser.
Yes.
Because of this, you have to defend each gas canister within a time limit by defeating lizards along the way. While the first dispenser is pretty easy, it's the second dispenser that got me the most trouble. You can't even describe how many times I failed this mission just because the gas dispenser is destroyed via long-range spin attacks. It's an onslaught of lizards and I can't even save that one dispenser. And just when I was about to give up, I finally managed to save that gas dispenser and move on to the final one where it's even more difficult. 2 minutes of defending the gas dispenser and killing off more lizards until the serum is finally complete.
Yes.
Let's not do that again.
I'm so sorry, Spider-Man, for all of this.
It's okay, Doc. You're a good man. I wish good intentions were all it took. See you around, Doc. Be well.
Yep. Exactly.
This leads to the final mission of the game, Grand Finale Showdown. Peter finds a cab with Mary Jane inside, webbed up at a construction site, with more web reading, Stop as if you can, Spider-Man. So it's up to Spider-Man to save Mary Jane from both Venom and Sandman. And first up, it's Spider-Man versus Venom. My best advice is to lure Venom to a set of metal bars in which he smashes and starts loading some pain on him. However, Venom can enter rage mode before and after finishing a combo. So be ready to dodge whenever you can. Harry, who has now recovered from his injury, hears about what's going on, and it's here where he plays Harry Osborn, another feature coming back from the first game.
He mentioned Ozzy Osbourne. He mentioned Ozzy Osbourne. Metalheads. T1.
Harry, who has now recovered from his injury, hears about what's going on, and it's here where he plays Harry Osborn, another feature coming back from the first game. This, of course, leads to the final tutorial of the game from Bruce Campbell.
Wow.
Harry's controls are about the same as the first game, in which you use the control stick to turn, raise, and or lower your glider.
With virtual indoor controls. Continue on.
And the web swing button to accelerate and throw bombs at enemies. But unlike the first game, you can power slide as well as boost with your afterburner. Light and heavy attacks with your sword, and a camera lock feature making its return from the previous games.
Makes sense.
And by the way, Harry is the only character in this game to have a lock-on feature, unlike Spider-Man, who had this feature in the earlier games. He has other weapons including spark bombs and razor bats, which I hardly ever use in this game at all. That's sad knowing I could easily do that the last time I played as the Green Goblin. So Spider-Man tries to save Mary Jane, only to be stopped by Monster Sandman. But don't worry, Spidey, Harry is here to help out. Not only does he save Mary Jane, but he also tries to defeat Sandman by making him wet, allowing him to throw bombs at Sandman. If Sandman can block anything with his hands, your first step is to take out his hands before aiming pumpkin bombs at Sandman's face. But it won't last too long, though. Also, it's best to stay up high in order to avoid Sandman's attacks. But in order to defeat Sandman for good, you have to endure not one, but 2 quick-time events.
Wow.
One where Harry lands the final blow on Sandman, and the other where he escapes the whirlwind of sand. Venom tries to kill Spider-Man only to be stopped by Harry, but little does he know that Venom webs Harry, leading to his unfortunate demise. This leads to the final one-on-one battle against Venom. Do the same thing you did previously, except endure one more quick-time event, resulting in Venom's death via steel spikes.
Wow.
Spider-Man mends his relationship with Mary Jane as Sandman, somehow still alive, reunites with his daughter Penny.
Wow.
Why did Venom lure Sandman into killing Spider-Man with his daughter? Well, it turns out Venom was going to kill her had he not helped out. But unfortunately, it ends with the very last narration from Tobey Maguire.
This should be a happy ending. I beat the villain, brought a family back together, and got the girl. But it's not that easy. Being Spider-Man always comes with a price. And today that price was a steep one. What keeps me going are Uncle Ben's words. With great power comes great responsibility.
Wow.
In the end, people need heroes.
Yes.
As tough as it gets some days, I have to fight on.
Makes sense.
Maybe the best way to honor the people I love is to never stop being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
But I'm not done yet. There's still one more thing to talk about. And that is the new Goblin DLC.
Jesus.
Yep, this game has new missions that are only exclusive to the new Goblin. And what does it add to this game? Absolutely nothing. It's all challenges in which you make your way from one area to another as fast as possible. So basically, the new Goblin is next to worthless in this game, except for the final story mission. And that is all I have to say about it.
So what are my thoughts on Spider-Man 3?
It's not that bad by any means, but it's not good either. Well, compared to the other games. Though Spider-Man 3 uses elements from the previous games, the overall execution is not very good. As I mentioned before, the graphics look pretty bland. I don't like the model quality of the human characters, even though Spider-Man's model looks pretty decent. The level design is pretty good, as well as seeing New York both night and day. All the cutscenes are done via in-game graphics, which look good even when it replicates a scene from the movie, but the animation looks a bit stiff to me. So at least there's some mixed feelings about the look of the game. When it comes to gameplay, I like the overall combat, whether regular or the black suit, as well as the super attacks, but the web swing mechanic was not changed from the previous game.
Yeah.
Honestly, I prefer the combat system from Black Suit Spider-Man because of not only its rage mode, but can also pick up more hits as well as more damage than normal Spider-Man.
Yes.
Finally, it'd be nice to have exclusive missions for the new Goblin, just to give more value to the DLC. Also, the music isn't that memorable either, even though the game's soundtrack has gotten a release. Overall, Spider-Man 3 isn't that good of a game. I personally recommend getting the first 2 games for enjoyment alone. But who knows? Maybe you'll find something interesting in this game that I could not.
And with that, we finally reached the end of Spider-Man Month. Like I said, there are tons of Spider-Man games out there, and it's only a matter of time before my Spidey senses tingle again. Now, what game should I review next?
Hey gamer, my 30th birthday is coming up, and I'm wondering if we can review more Sonic games. Wow, continue on.
Oh, that's right! Sonic's turning 30 very soon, and I know just the game to review next.
You can't see it anywhere.
Until then, I'm your friendly neighborhood Fairly Odd Gamer, and I wish you all good luck for the rest of your day or night, wherever you are. Take care, everyone.
The end. Okay.
How's it going, dudes? Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified for upcoming videos.
Also, be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as my character buddies on TikTok and video commissions. Links to those in the description below. Speaking of character buddies, here's one of them right now to finish out the video.
Yes. So that was the Fairly Odd Gamer Spider-Man 3. What do I think about this episode review thing? I think it was amazing. So far, this review was a success. And that was with LJPCBM episode number 902. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be Fairly Odd Gamer episode number 44. I hope it's going to be about Sonic the Hedgehog, which will be about... It's going to be basically about Sonic Adventures 2 with GameCube and, of course, Sonic and Fire as a guest. Till next time, through Jones and Bob Piece of Baby, we give orders to react guys pursued. Till then, the Jump will say out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I fail to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. I ask, why me? Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception Redemption is the question, and the giver holds the key.